Having a bad hair day. Welcome to another episode of
Nerd Out.
I'm Randy. This is Brian, and this is just a good old conversation type piece. Just you know what? I think that there's such a major like, I don't know if conflict's the word, but like action figure scale is such there's so many facets to that conversation. Like right now, the trend.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, not right now. The trend is 6-inch action figures.
Well, that's size.
Right.
Scale is like,
okay.
like it's a comparison to other things in the universe.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, how important is it?
Yeah, you're right. So, like, I'm almost like trying to like get into like, well, let's start with the scale.
Yeah,
okay. So, how important is scale? Like, I think it depends on
me.
Yeah, it's everything.
Pretty much, sort of. It depends on the series. It's like in Macross,
right?
Everything.
It's got to be right
because. Like basically they have roughly 160 scale.
Okay.
That's what they call it.
Right.
And it's like, it's cool because you get to see comparisons in real life that you never see in the show, because like there's a lot of mechs that were never on screen together or never in the same series. So when you collect them, it makes it a complete universe, sort of, and you can see, like, it's cool to compare.
Right. Well, here, as a devil's advocate then, and I'm not saying that I disagree with you, like, the great thing about scale is that you get to see the worlds, but then here's the opposite spectrum, is when you think of, like, a toy line like Masters of the Universe or Secret Wars, like, the universal scale of those, size of those, was kind of their appeal. Even better, because it's really relevant to me, is GoBots. Like, the thing is about GoBots is GoBots were all roughly the same size, but they were just like, you got an F-15, same size as a motorcycle. Right.
So yeah, does that bother you?
Not for GoBots.
Some people, they would freak out, but that's subjective scale.
That is.
Because it's like how they look on screen. All the robots were the same size.
Right.
Like, Megatron is a gun, and Optimus Prime is a truck, and Megatron somehow is taller. You know? And it's like, a lot of people flip out about, like,
absolutely,
they have issues with it and they get all OCD. And I'm gonna say, says me, don't. You gotta let it go if you can.
I agree to some degree. Like, that's when it came to Transformers, I think the Transformers Masterpiece series would have been so much better if they all would have been the same size. And I know that I'm getting a lot of shit for this, because
you wish Masterpiece was a size, not a scale.
Yes. Like,
I'll buy that.
With MP1, it was a big-ass robot. It was a showcase piece. It was a standalone piece. I wanted them all to be similar to that. But with what they did, though, is from MP10 on, they should have just changed the name to Transformers Classics or Legends or something like that. Because
it became a scale.
It became a scale.
It wasn't a size, and it wasn't even a quality statement. It was just Masterpiece means actually roughly 160 scale, which I sort of love.
Okay, but it didn't
roughly.
Okay, but it didn't originally, and like I guess why this came to my mind was because I've been talking about how much I love that new Machine Robo, Bike Robo, Cykill, and the thing is I look at the future of that line, which I hope there is one, and I don't want that to be in scale in the sense of like one is this big, one is this big. I want them to be all consistently.
I think you're safe.
You think I'm safe?
I don't think they're gonna, like. I don't think Leader 1 will be this big.
Okay.
I think they're gonna stick with it. That's how perfect size.
I agree. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, I can't imagine a toy line or like something like obviously Star Wars has to be in scale. Like, if you have an Ewok can't be 6-inch tall. Like, they need to be in scale.
If you see it on screen together, and it can be, it's like usually most of the times they screw up with scale or transforming robots. Yes, it's like they mass shift all the time, you know, and it's sort of hard to.
No, definitely.
Get that in a toy.
I think that's the one exception for me, and I know that I differ from most Transformer collectors, because most Transformer collectors are really. I don't want to say, I know this is a bold statement, but like, I find that Transformer collectors like my age are very beholden to the cartoon, the G1 cartoon. And I have never been a G1 cartoon purist. Like, I'm the opposite, where I think you more are.
A little bit. Yeah, actually probably a lot. Yeah. And I don't know why. I guess it's like, I had...
Well, the cartoon defined you, right? As opposed to the toys.
Yes, because I didn't have a lot of the toys. I had it, but when I did get them, sorry, I was let down. Yeah. Most of my Transformers were like, wow, they break. Wow, I got to put my hands on Optimus. And then my first one was Thundercracker. And I just remember I was sad.
Really?
Like, well, wings come off.
Do you think if you would have never seen GoBots first and like had a vision of self-contained robot, like that would have changed?
Probably. I mean, because I loved GoBots.
Right.
I really liked GoBots, and I mean, it's just like that, just that whole self-contained thing was such a big deal as a kid.
It was a big deal, but
made a huge difference.
But I think I was able to separate the two things. I thought they were two very different toy lines, and I was separated that, and I was able to do that. And with scale, like, I think if you're gonna make something a masterpiece type line, and we're using that, we're creating that definition. Like when you what about maybe you can educate me more? Like Soul Chigoken. Yeah. Anyone familiar with Soul? Is that a masterpiece scale, or are those in scale to each other?
That's a really good question. And you know what?
By the way, I saw the new Combatler in person.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's just it's really big. It's really big.
Now I don't know, because the scale there is sort of subjective, just because it's like they were never on the same show together.
Right, I see.
So,
but are they designed to be, for example, 13-inch robot, or are they designed to be like, all right, this guy defines everyone else? Does that, you see what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know. That's a good question, because it's like they're not all the same height.
That's true. Right.
Like, so
they have the DX, the EX, like how does that work? Again, like when it comes to something like, even like, for example, another example where scale wouldn't bother me would be like Mezco's. Like, I want slight scale-ish. Actually, that's not true, because I was really excited.
Yeah, you really want him to look in a proper
you're right,
scale
you're right. Because I was really happy that Wolverine was small. So that's not true. So it's really just like,
I think scale is everything.
I think you're right.
Like one way or the other, whether subjective, the way they look on screen together, or like true scale of like I said, to go back to Macross, that's an easy one.
It's true,
because it like you can just measure they're real vehicles that human-sized people go in.
Right.
So to get that scale, it's easy. But it's Transformers. It's tough.
Yeah,
you're things that don't happen in the real world.
I'm trying to define Masters of the Universe. Then was Masters of the Universe more of a styled choice then?
Both.
Yeah.
I think. How tall were they?
They were 5.5 inches tall. And I'm going to use, was it, I mean...
So they'd be 6 if they stood up straight.
Yeah, I guess so. Right. So I guess Masters of the Universe was probably, the decision for the toy line was based on cost efficiency and being able to reuse the tooling and reuse the mold. So I get that. And I kind of like the way that looks as a toy collector. Like, if you have
the uniformity of it.
I like the uniformity. And again, like, I think that toy collectors in general, I think there's a level of OCD involved in it. And like, again, G.I. Joe, there's a uniformity to G.I. Joe. Like yes, Sergeant Slaughter had slightly bigger guns than Lieutenant Falcon, but it was very minor. Like, they were all essentially the same height, and I love that uniformity. But at the same time, they were all based off humans, so it's like they really sort of created like, this is the tall of the average human, and we're just going to duplicate that.
But then look at the vehicles. I mean,
it's true.
That's
like they had to be.
That's like the best exercise in scale. I mean, like, and it was
and let's dive into that. Can we dive into that?
Hell yeah! I mean, look at the flag, 6 feet long, and that's still undersized. But they did such a good job of like creating scale.
Absolutely.
Even being undersized.
True.
I mean, like. Yeah,
that's true.
Legendary.
Well, okay, since we're going that, can I sort of switch gears and say, like, okay, now I'll go back to what I was talking about. Like, 6-inch scale seems to be the popularity. Like, I'm very active in social media, and I'll read these things. Like, I'm really interested in the new Sectars Kickstarter by Zika Toys. And if you haven't already signed up for it, I'm telling you to sign up for it. But here's the thing. 1 out of every 3 comments that is posted is, oh, I would have bought these if these were 6-inch scale. I get it. It's a popular format of the day.
For collecting.
No.
But it's not... Well,
no, that's what I'm saying. Is like, today's...
But it's not a Plan Man scale.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, you can't have accessories in that. I mean, you can, but... You're limited.
Right. But, like, if you are a toy collector out there, you're a toy collector, like, are you... like, do you look at a toy line and say, like, if it's not exactly matching up to my Marvel Legends, I will absolutely not get involved? Like, do you?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, because if all I collected were 6-inch figures, I don't know if I could do 3 3/4.
Well, here's my thought. I understand that, but like, when you look around my room, do you find that is whistling? Do you find that like part of the charm? And again, this is all up to a personal. Like, part of the charm is that you've got these big giant robots there. They've got this 3 3/4-inch GI Joes here. These 6-inch Star Wars here. These, you know what I mean? Like, isn't that part, or does
it depends on who you are? I mean,
guess so.
Like, I think you define yourself by having a ton of stuff.
Yes.
And not everybody does. A lot of people, they're just, nah, that's what I want. I mean, I'm sort of like that. I like complex robots. That's it.
That's it.
I don't need 6-inch action figures. I don't like, they're all kids' toys. But I don't like kids' toys.
I know what you're saying. You don't want something marketed
for a child.
Yeah, for a child.
And
I do like that.
So I think it just depends on the type of collector you are. I need to play. Or I don't like some I can play with, and like, but that's just me, you know.
Here's where I like mix up my own opinions about that. Is like, I think the NECA figures that are 7 inches, I think they're too big. But I think actually, why are toy companies not revisiting 5-inch? Do you remember like 5-inch scales, like the Toy Biz X-Men? Like that was a good scale. Like, I inherently like my personal love is for 3 3/4 inch, and the reason why is because, like you said,
we grew up in the 80s,
right?
I mean, and that is the grandfather of action,
right?
That is the scale that started it all.
Well, 12 inches is actually the scale,
okay. But still,
yeah. But I think
but those were dolls.
Those were dolls.
Yeah.
Sorry, GI Joe 12-inch collectors.
That's all right.
It is hard to like, and I'm not saying that you like. I mean, I'm about to get my first Hot Toys. And I think I'm opening the gates of hell, something dangerous. But the thing is like, I'm okay with that. It's just that it is a different generation. Like 60s, early 70s, 12-inch scale. And then as soon as Star Wars started, boom, it was all over. It was 3 3/4 inch. And that's how I look at my Star Wars. Like, but I think also the 3 3/4 inch scale works best when you're trying to amass a universe.
Yeah, when you want play sets. You know, I mean... Like, play sets are sort of dead now.
They are
dead.
Yeah, you can't get kids to buy. You can't get collectors. Like, the perfect example is the sail barge. Like, they're trying to get that, and I'm trying.
Kickstarter for it.
Yeah, and that's the only way they'll be able to manufacture that is if they can get a Kickstarter to get people. Now, with that, like, in its defense, like that, you are asking people to buy a $500 sail barge. Like,
are you gonna get it?
I think I've had to convince myself to do it. And the reason why is because ultimately, I really, really want them to bring back the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures in the best manner they should, like the vintage collection. And in order for me to promote that or to show that I want that is by buying their Big Daddy, like to truly go on board. But it's like, I like 6-inch figures. Please rewind and like don't misunderstand me.
You like both.
I like both. But like, I'm going to be honest with you. SH Figuarts, they're doing the 6-inch figures better than the Star Wars Black are. But in the opposite spectrum, I think the Marvel Legends figures are doing as good as the SH Figuarts for your money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I'd rather buy...
because they do the Marvel Legends way better than they do the Black.
Right. Like, I'd rather buy a $20 Marvel Legends Black Panther than a $65 SH Figuarts Black Panther. But I would rather buy a $60 Luke Skywalker Figuarts than I would buy a $20 Star Wars Black.
Well, I think part of it is because Star Wars is an animation.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like, yeah, Bandai's pretty damn good at capturing
facial likenesses and stuff like that.
Just capturing stuff that looks physical, like on film.
Now that's certainly going to change with the digital facial thing likenesses they're doing.
But just the plastic is harder, so it just looks like it. I think like Marvel Legends or Black. They're on softer plastic.
They are.
You know, so it won't do the same. It doesn't have the same properties. You know?
I understand that. And then there's also the aspect, like the growing trend of like scale style, like back to the G.I. Joe or to the He-Man. I'm jumping all over the place.
Hey,
are you
scale,
with me?
Yeah.
The 5.5 has become a style now. it's become like its own thing.
Yeah, but He-Man wasn't a style because of its size. It was a style because they're like squat little men with bent arms, you know?
Right, but they did have a style, and then like companies like Remco duplicated that style. And I think there was that, if you've never watched that Netflix Toys That Made Us, the He-Man episode touched on that, and the reason why was the common scale was a 3 3/4 inch, and they wanted He-Man to look more massive. And so they made him that size, and that makes sense. But he was still small enough to include vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they wanted to do something different, you know. And they did. So
I like my action figures all different, like scaled based or scaled sized based on the subject matter. I think movie action figures that allow vehicles and accessories should be 3 3/4 inch. I think superheroes should be 6 inch, and the reason why is because a superhero doesn't need a vehicle to define who it is.
It's based around that character and what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it needs to be bigger. And then Transformers or robots, I'm going to go with you. Like, I think they, for the most part, need to be scaled based on the vehicle they are. Except for
You do?
I do.
I'd say on the robot, man.
What's that?
I want them. My Transformer scale. I would prefer that they're based on how big the robots are together.
So
they look right. I mean,
so you are okay with like a tank being smaller than a truck if that character was smaller than you want the character.
Yeah, I mean, I like my Megatron taller than my Prime.
Me too. But here's a question: what if there is no media to go with it? Like, then
whatever works.
Yeah,
whatever aesthetically. Then you make them the same size in robot mode, because that's what you're going to display them in.
Yeah.
So
I guess I just like I absolutely 99% prefer and need a scale where everything's in scale to each other, except for I think with certain robot like Masterpiece line. Like I think that there's something about having like. I know everyone's into their DTOF showcases. Yeah. Like, to have a DTOF of 12-inch, all the same size, Masterpiece robots just appeals to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's sort of the reason I like my Macross. Because it's all in scale because it's all based on humans.
Right.
Driving it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and I mean, I need that. That's why I sort of like, I don't know if I do need it or not. I mean, it's like one of these things that think about it, and I gravitate towards stuff that's all the same scale, but I don't know if it was conscious or not. Like, I get annoyed with, like, the high metals because they're out of scale
I can
for
see
90% of my collection, so...
Do you think that collectors today would much prefer if there was an alliance of all toy action figure companies that came up with like a 6-inch scale because that's what's popular and just said everything is going to follow this size? Like, do you think?
I think a lot of people would. I think that would make a lot of people happy.
Right? And do you think that would be a good thing for the hobby, or do you think it would?
In some ways, it would be a good thing because then you could do play sets that were universal and you could sell it different ways.
Mix universes.
Yeah, you could mix universes. You could repackage it, and the Batcave could you could make the Batcave into the Enterprise Bridge.
Yeah,
it's been done.
That's true. Yeah. I see the importance and value to having everything like the same. It's not scale. What did you refer to it as? Like, just like the like. No, it is scale.
Yeah,
like,
it's scale. Yeah.
It's just that I just feel like when you're putting something in a showcase, I do think the 6-inch action figure is far more like it has more presence than the 3 3/4 inch. Yeah. But ultimately, part of it is the fact that I grew up in the 80s. But like,
and I gotta go back on one thing. Okay. Not back, but back to. Well, the whole thing is on scale. Subjective scale.
Okay, so explain that.
Like, you have a toy, and I mean, scale is everything. Because remember how you get, like, some of the Star Wars toys? How it's, like a capital ship?
Right,
with a cockpit?
Right.
Like, I can't stand when they just, like, when it's so far out of scale.
Okay, all right.
That, like, in figure scale, like, a spaceship that should be 30 feet long is, like, 10 feet long.
But you are open to some like compromise on that,
a little,
right?
Yeah, they can't do it perfect, but like that's what I love about like newer Star Wars, like that Legacy Falcon.
Yes,
that thing is still like so.
We'll never see that again.
No.
So here's a question: would you rather them just not make a new Millennium Falcon, or give you that new Millennium Falcon they're going to give you? Like, would you know what I mean? Like, would you rather
don't even bother making that piece
making
of shit? That thing
such
is
a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's like why don't by the two that they came out with for the new trilogy, just release the old guy.
Why are they not doing that?
I
Why
don't
are
know.
they not repopping that old Falcon? Like, it's expensive, and I know it's going to be expensive for them to do, but like, I would rather
the electronics out of it.
Yeah, kick the electronics out.
Make it $150, and it's like. That's all.
And then give it a, yeah, absolutely. And then what do they have to do? Add that new front piece or whatever?
No. Oh, you mean for the Han Solo?
Yeah. Because,
I think it's a little bit.
Is it that much different? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just like.
But yeah, they'd be better off to modify a good toy than make that piece of garbage.
I think I wish toy companies would revisit the 5-inch scale, because it seems like a pretty reasonable compromise. It's just like I think
people would have a heart attack.
I know.
Like people would have a heart attack if they did that. Because,
I know. Like, do you remember when Marvel Legends, when the oil crisis happened, and like they stopped making 6-inch figures and they did the Marvel Universe figures, the 3 3/4 inch, and people freaked out.
When was this?
2007, 2006. And people freaked out, and it did affect the hobby, and I understand. Like, it's kind of hard to go from what you know and love to something else. But the thing is now it seems like it's the opposite. Like, people are demanding 6-inch scale G.I. Joes, but G.I. Joe, as we know and love, is 3 3/4 inch.
Yeah, but the G.I. Joes you know and love are dead.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it sucks. Like, and it's like... Like, it's one of those things, you look at it and, like, how is that dead? They made some of the best toys ever. And it'll never be duplicated. No. They'll never have that. What's the crazy space shuttle thing?
The Defiant.
They'll never make a toy like that ever again. Or the Flag, for that matter.
Well, they'll never make that Millennium Falcon Legacy again. Yeah. Like, that was a time period, the Star Wars Legacy stuff, when they were making toys that we'll never see them make again.
But what was going on then that was so, I mean, like, it was after...
It was like the death of Star Wars. It was like they were...
Yeah, the prequels were just wrapped up.
Right. And so they knew that their only customer base, their consumer, was the hardcore collector. So what they did was they made hardcore collector products. And then now that Star Wars has reached the masses again, they're trying to offer like different segmented things, like the cheap Force Link stuff, the Star Wars Black for the 6-inch collector, and now they're finally bringing back that vintage collection, which is ultimately what they should have been just continuing.
Yeah, they should have never stopped that, because that's what everybody wants. Those awesome packaging and just I think that's what the masses really want.
I think that's what Star Wars should be. I'm not saying that I'm against a 6-inch Star Wars line. I'm just saying
that's a collector's line.
That's a collector's line.
It's not really like
it's a supplementary line.
Yeah,
It was never meant and should have never been meant to be the primary line.
Like, what they need to do is, like what you said, the toy line.
We're so opinionated, man.
Every toy line needs to agree on a scale, like 6-inch, whatever, and they release shit in that scale. And then they can go up and make whatever they want in its own scale, and it doesn't matter. But you should be able to have any figure from any fucking series or whatever.
6-inch? But then we would never have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which had its own scale, which defined.
What scale was it?
It was about a 4.5.
Okay.
But the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles scale, or the style, defined itself. It was very specific only to that. Same thing with Playmates Star Trek: The Next Generation line. Like they defined they.
And that was a crazy fucking line. 100 figures?
Easily 300 figures.
Oh, 300. Yeah, it was huge. I remember my brother had.
Yeah. I had a bunch of it. I mean, but like sometimes like the scale and style defined the toy. Where are we getting that anymore? I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line defines itself. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Those Playmates figure, that Star Trek Next Generation. Yeah. I mean, and some of them were wonky.
Yes.
I mean, they were all sort of wonky, but when you look at them now, they actually look pretty good.
Yeah, they do. They were really glossy. That was right. And then some of the cut joints didn't make sense. Like, they would have just came up with a cut joint system. It would have made more sense. And
everybody customized those fuckers.
Yeah.
Because I don't know well enough, but they would like some of the officers didn't come. Like, they'd have them in their, like, different uniforms, so people were popping heads off and putting Riker on this
William Riker only came with a battle damage suit, the first one, so people were popping heads off of it, and then they cutting off the things.
And then popping them on a Deep Space Nine uniform, making them Thomas Riker.
Yeah,
and, like,
that's right.
You had to be a hardcore nerd. That was nerdy shit.
That's something Star Trek won't get back to that point again. That was a
never. That was. I am so glad I lived through that. I lived through the heyday of Star. We did. I mean, when we were in high school, man, it was like
it was huge.
I took a date to Star Trek Generations. Like a date. I mean, think about that.
Yeah. Wow.
Those were the days.
That was the days. There was like, and then piggybacking off that, like. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles style, the Playmate style, didn't work for every toy line. You remember when they did the Dick Tracy toys? Yep. That style didn't work. That, like, short, stubby figure. Like, I liked the Dick Tracy movie. I did. And
I never got through it.
No?
I hated it.
I liked it. But my problem was the figures didn't make sense. Like, the figures needed to be, like humans standing up straight. But they were those, like, fat, chunky Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style, and they just didn't make sense for that line.
Because wasn't Inspector Gadget figures sort of like that too?
Yes, they came out a little bit. The thing is about Inspector Gadget,
I like those figures a lot.
Actually, but those were like they fit the cartoon. Like I don't think human figures fit that style well, because. I don't know. They were cartoony. Same thing with like Masters of the Universe. Like the thing that I recognized.
No, you couldn't see a Han Solo.
No,
I'd be sort of sweet if they made Star Wars.
But that's becoming a trend now with that Funko Savage.
Yeah, because it's its own. What do you even call what a He-Man guy is?
Fantasy scale.
Okay.
5.5 fantasy scale. Because I mean that's what it was like in the 80s.
It's its own thing. It's like it's its own it's its own thing.
It's its own thing. And to be honest with you, I think that's a good thing. I don't think that everything will translate well in that.
No,
space.
but it'd still be cool. Like I would love to see him like do crazy stuff like that. Like just like a Han Solo, like a He-Man Solo.
Would you want him buffed? Would Han Solo have to be ripped?
Yes. And the He-Man universe, yes, he'd be huge. But like
I'm trying to visualize like a stormtrooper like squatting over. That could be a lot of fun, I guess. I mean,
look at the Super 7 Stormtrooper and Boba Fett. It's like a they're like a Shogun warrior.
Yeah, that's true.
I like stuff like that.
That is kind of fun. So I guess it just like, I guess we do need toy companies to come up with their own style, right? It's kind of like, you remember the Justice League Unlimited style was really popular for the Batman animated style.
Yeah,
like, its own particular style. Like, do we not have that anymore, or am I just not thinking of that anymore?
You know what? I don't even know really what's on shelves that much anymore. You know,
that's true. Like, I went to Toys R Us, which is closing. This is the most schizophrenic episode ever. I went to Toys R Us yesterday, and I don't know if it's because they just announced they're closing 200 more stores, but when walking through the doors was the saddest experience. Like it was like sad, like going into a Big Lot sale.
Well, it blows because you walk in there and all you want to do is give them your $100 for the barricade.
Yes.
Please take my $100 so I can have the Toys R Us exclusive. And no, won't happen. Won't happen. And it's like they're not all sold out. They're not like it's just they never get shit. And that's why they're going out of business. It's like they don't carry new toys.
It's true.
Like I mean, I don't want to see them go, but better they go than exist and have nothing.
I agree.
You know?
But there's nothing going to replace it. Like I was doing toy hunting the other day, and I came to the realization that like I could push a button on my internet and order that barricade. I could have it. I could have it in 2 days.
And we've held out, man. I mean, like you try to hold out, find it at retail, try to help you fuckers out, and you're making us go buy it on the internet, and it sucks.
Yeah, we have 3 Toys R Us's in like a 20-mile radius.
None of them have shit.
None of them have shit. And then I went out and actually had to like ask, like, are these even shipping to Toys R Us? The thing is I would do another Canada trip if we found out that those barricades, just because like it feels good to find something.
And that's closer to us than Pontiac. Probably.
Yeah, pretty much. I did go out of Pontiac, no luck.
Yeah, it's just, and what pisses me off is they're hitting Toys R Us's in Malta, I think is that
what's. Oh, they are hitting some. What's Malta?
No, it's out of the country. But,
okay.
but in Asia, in the Philippines,
okay.
you can go to Toys R Us in the Philippines and get it. No problem. So that's horse shit.
Look, I think the way to wrap this up is
scale.
I think scale.
Yeah, scale does matter. It does matter. One or the other.
It does matter. It's just that like just because it's just hard because like this all goes back to like my point of like I really am excited about those Sectars figures and I'm happy they're like 3 3/4 inch figures, but it is interesting how people are absolutely ignoring them simply because they aren't in the scale they collect. And I guess the point was why are we so narrow focused on the scale we collect? And I think it is because people collect differently than they used to.
Yeah, and I mean the whole thing is I'll fully admit if I talk about scale too long, I'll contradict myself.
Yes, I think
because I go back and forth.
I'm
not. Yeah, we're totally schizo about this.
Like whoever's watching this is probably like you guys are idiots. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it matters and it doesn't. It depends on what you're collecting and what mood you're. I mean, it depends. I mean.
There you go. You got an honest conversation, and you got nothing out of it at the end. So you know, I hope you enjoyed getting nothing out of this. And subscribe, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Until next time, nerd out. That was all over the fucking place.
Oh my god, that episode meant nothing.
That meant